All right, hear me out. What if I told you Princess Fiona didn't just wait in that tower for 20 years? What if she was just surviving in the tower for 20 years? And fun fact, Fiona was 30 years old when Shrek found her. And I never processed to even think about how old she was, but peak. But when you really look at Shrek, something kind of feel off. Because the knights go in and we see them dead, the bones and stuff all in the castle, but no one ever comes out. And somehow Fiona is still alive. And not only that, she's still strong, still well fed. You feel me? And we all seen Lord Farquaad get ate at the end of the first movie. He got ate whole. Dragons eat people whole. But we clearly saw bones and stuff in the castle. So here's the question I want you to think about when you peep this video, right? What if Fiona wasn't the damsel, but the last thing the knights ever saw? And you got to keep in mind, she knows that she's an ogre. Ogres have a diet, and it's not that of keto. It's not nothing like no human, none of that, right? They don't have human diets. They eat people, grind bones to make bread. Y'all heard it? So again, what if she's the last thing these knights ever saw? She was their worst nightmare. And to make it even crazier and push it even further, that explains why she never got saved at the same time, because the knights could never find a girl because they always found an ogre, and they looking at the prophecy like, I don't see no fucking ogre in here. Say a dragon, but I know ogre. And then they got bodied by the person that they're supposed to be saving because Fiona is half ogre. So that explains why she was never saved. Now we're told a classic story, princess locked in a tower, dragon guarding her, waiting for true love's kiss, quote unquote. But Shrek isn't a normal fairy tale. It parodies them. It twists the expectations you always thought of, right? So why would this part be played straight? Let's look at the setup. A remote castle, right? There's a fire-breathing dragon. And then we have a princess alone for 2 decades. Now ask yourself this. How does anyone survive that long with no visible supply chain? There's no farms. There's no deliveries. She's not door dashing. There's no servants. She don't got nothing cooking up. She don't got no Ramses in the kitchen. It's just Fiona and whatever's inside the castle. So what is her intake? And if you really think about it, for this theory to work, the dragon and Fiona almost had to have been working together, because in the first movie, you see the guy, just his bones, and then his silhouette from getting burned alive up against the wall, right? But dragons, again, they eat people whole, and it was just his bones there. So it's almost as if Fiona and the dragon work together. The dragon scares people, fries them up, and then leaves them. That way they're a little bit more palatable for Fiona to eat. And then that's just their symbiotic relationship, right? And it kind of goes even crazy when you think about it, that they were never really in danger. It's almost as if the dragon was just trying to save her last friend from leaving the castle, right? Because you got to keep in mind, being dependent on one another for so long, inevitably, naturally, especially if you're the only 2 people in the whole castle, the only 2 beings, you're going to be friends. So let's talk about how knights go in but never return. I want to touch back on that because Lord Farquaad makes it clear. Some of you may die, right? Multiple knights have attempted this rescue. They don't come back. We're meant to assume the dragon kills them all, but here's where things get interesting. We see how the dragon handles people. Lord Farquaad, she swallows them whole, right? Again, no bones, no leftovers, no nothing. Just staying alive, staying alive. You feel me? Now compare that to the castle environment. There are skeletal remains. Again, I'm about to break this down. No pun. There are bones. There's evidence that something or someone was processed differently. So ask yourself, if the dragon leaves no skeletons, who does? And it has to be Fiona. And it only makes sense because, again, her being ogre in the night, and the knights always typically coming to save her in the nighttime, they're going to catch her in that form. And if you're rocking with it so far, hit that like and subscribe, because I got way more evidence, way more solid evidence too. So stay with me, keep up, because this castle isn't just a prison. Fiona's tower is not empty. It's very functional. There's a bed, wardrobe, even a sense of routine there, right? And then there's the kitchen elements. It's subtle, very easy to miss, but they're there, including something fans have pointed out for years now, a cookbook style Easter egg, often referred to as nightly treats, right? Now, whether you believe that exact label or not, the implication is the same. Fiona didn't just exist, she adapted, because isolation doesn't just break people, it changes them, right? So here's the next question. What does survival look like when no one's coming to save you? And we all know there's always that moment in that movie when people like eating their friends because they're about to die out in the wilderness or something, or in a cave or something, you feel me? And put in the comments if you've seen this cookbook in the movie as well. You know me, you see the channel, it's my thing. I always see Easter eggs, pause movies, rewind, I don't care. Me personally, I've been watching Shrek since I was a kid. I always watched it in the hospital every time I went, so I caught the Easter eggs every time. Now, with that being said, the ogre transformation changes everything, because Fiona isn't just human. At night, she becomes an ogre, stronger, a little more primal, less restrained. She even says by night one way, by day another, which is super hard. But that's not just physical, it's psychological. 2 identities, there's 2 sets of instincts. Now think about this. During the day, she holds on to hope, but at night, hope doesn't feed you, survival does. So what if her ogre form wasn't just a curse? What if it was the only reason she stayed alive? That makes it even crazier. And what's even crazier than that is the metaphor of this dragon, because I need people to realize this dragon isn't just a guard, it's a symbol. Again, it represents danger, yes, but also cover, because again, to do this, for this theory to be true, they have to be some type of friends, right? Fiona and the dragon. Because as long as a dragon exists, everyone assumes it's the killer. It's the perfect scapegoat. Knights disappear. Oh, must have been the dragon. But what if the dragon wasn't the only predator in the castle is my thing? What if it was just the one everyone noticed? Now ask yourself, is the most obvious monster always the real one? And you can apply that to everything. In real life, our universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, politics, Hollywood, all of it. Is the most obvious monster always the real one? And put in the comments if you'd watch a horror movie about Fiona, if they made it to where they showed what she actually did in her 20 years in the castle and how brutal it was, and it was like horror and very like gory and graphic, would you go see that? Put that in the comments, because it sounds like it would be fire. Now, let's talk about the behavior that doesn't add up with Fiona, because when Shrek arrives, she's kind of like prepared, but like too prepared. She has a whole rescue fantasy mapped out, which I guess could be fair because she's there a long time, but like the poses, the lines, the expectations, it just feels rehearsed and more practiced, you know? Like she's been waiting, not just for rescue, but for the right rescue. Now, layer that with survival instincts, right? She's skilled, very agile and capable. We've seen her box dudes up. She was boxing up Robin Hood in the woods and shit, but she takes down the men with ease in that forest. Like, easily. Like I'm talking Matrix style camera panning ease, right? So here's the uncomfortable thought. If she can fight like that, why didn't she ever just escape? Or better yet, why didn't she need to? And if you sum it all up, she didn't have the incentive that every other princess that would be quote unquote trapped in the castle would have to escape. She didn't have the incentive. She's not scared of the dragon. They're pretty much homies. She is predator to the knights. They're pretty much prey because she's got the ogre gene in her. So it's like, really, Fiona was at home. At the end of the day, it's like almost like she just wanted love, maybe, if that. Because she was a little reluctant with Shrek at first. Like she ain't know she was, you know what I'm saying, part of the community and shit. But yeah, at the end of the day, she almost didn't even need, she could have been in that castle forever and just lived off of people trying to save her. Crazy. Now my favorite part, this theory in full. And I'm going to lay it out clearly, like I always do. Fiona was trapped in the tower for around 20 years, right? During the time, multiple knights attempted to rescue her, but no one returned. While the dragon is assumed to be responsible, evidence suggests otherwise. The dragon swallows victims whole, leaving no skeletal remains, right? The castle, however, contains bones indicating that bodies were processed differently. With no external food source, Fiona needed a way to survive. So it only makes sense. Using the castle's resources, including a cauldron-like cooking setup, she could have prepared food. The Nightly Treats cookbook Easter egg reinforces this idea of routine consumption, and I'm pretty sure nightly was spelled with a K, Nightly Treats. So her ogre transformation at night provided the physical strength and primal instinct necessary to overpower and dismember victims. Over time, this creates a dual existence. So by day, she's the hopeful princess. By night, she's the survivor, willing to do whatever it takes. The dragon unknowingly serves as cover, taking the blame for disappearances. So the theory concludes that Fiona didn't just survive the tower, she survived by consuming the very knight sent to save her. Now, Fiona's story gets a lot darker when you stop seeing her as just misunderstood and start looking at the pattern, because every transformation, every moment of isolation, even every happily ever after comes at the cost of something or someone else, right? The films never say it outright, but the clues stack up because her appetite, right? Her environment, the way danger seems to follow her rather than avoid her. It's just like, come on now. And if ogres in this world survive the way folklore suggests, then Fiona isn't just adapting, she's feeding. And we all remember, like, bro, she was eating rats and stuff, bro. So it's like kind of crazy. And that don't come natural like it did for her. And once you see that from this angle, it changes everything about who she really is beneath the fairy tale ending. Now, let's be real. This theory is dark, but Shrek has always been about flipping fairy tale expectations, right? So maybe the biggest twist isn't that Fiona is an ogre, you know? Maybe it's that survival changed her long before Shrek ever even arrived. It's almost like Shrek isn't even the main character. It's kind of nuts because when you strip away that fantasy, you're left with one final question. For real, like, if you were trapped for 20 years with no way out, what would you become to survive? So with that being said, drop that answer in the comments and tell me this. Do you think Fiona was just a victim or something much more complicated than that? Because, sheesh, this theory, man. But if you want more theories that completely change how you see childhood movies, you know, any movies, forget just childhood. You know me, I hit all of them. Hit the like, subscribe, and stick around because sometimes the real story, it's not the one the fairy tale tells you, right? It's the one hiding in those parts you weren't supposed to question. And that's the problem with the world. They don't want you to question things, so you really get down to the bottom of the nitty gritty. All right? Don't forget to leave captions open and stay smooth.